Hello and welcome back to Worm Watts, where we harness the God-given power of compost worms to transform organic waste into amazing living fertilizer. Now, in today's episode, we are going to be opening up this bin right here. And this is a continuation of our desire to build a bin that is fungally dominant. That means a bin that is largely, the decomposition within this bin is going to depend on fungi. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and open this up. We had put in one of the jute bags. One of the things you can see on the top of this, actually, it looks like that is a black soldier fly larva that has pupated. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just brush that into the bin. I don't mind if that's in there. And we went ahead and put a whole bunch of water in here, and you can see that we have some white growth there. So this is really nice. That's kind of what we were hoping for. Now, last time we were in here, we had some other interesting visitors with us. We had a skink, which is a type of lizard, a beautiful, vari-colored lizard that was in here. Hopefully it will make its way out because I don't want it to be eating our worms. And I imagine we have a number of other critters in here because this bin, this bag here, this jute bag was actually sitting outside where it was exposed to the elements. And so I imagine we are going to have a whole bunch of stuff in here. So as we get closer, we can actually see that we have what appear to be a large family of, hey, we have a pill bug right there in the middle, otherwise known as a roly-poly. And then all of the fast-moving ones, I believe those are actually sow bugs. So we have a lot of those decomposers in here. And as we take a look to the bottom of the bin, it looks like the water has really incorporated, which is really what we wanted it. We didn't want to have a whole bunch of standing water, so I'm happy to see that. And we can see the leaves. So that is looking really good. So what I'm going to need to do is to go ahead and add more leaves to kind of fill in those void spots, those gaps there. And then I will put some more water in so that those leaves can also get moistened and make this an ideal environment for the worms to be added to. So, but overall, I'm really happy with how this is coming out. You can see that the jute bag is breaking down. It actually broke and tore, if you will. And so, yeah, it's looking really good. So I'm going to go ahead and acquire some more leaves to put in the corners, and then I'll add some more water, and we'll leave it for another week to allow that to kind of settle in. All right, change of plans actually. So instead of filling in these voids and filling this entire bin up, what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to take the leaves out of this bag, if I can, and let them kind of settle into the bottom. Look at this, you can see an earwig there. We've got another, this is a pill bug, and the sow bugs are scattering very quickly. Right here, what is this? Looks like we might have an ant. Yep, we've got an ant right there. I'm gonna probably take that guy out. All right, so, all right, there we go. So we've gone ahead and let the leaves kind of fall out of the bag. And now this jute bag is kind of on top, kind of like it has been as a worm blanket in other bins. So, or as we've seen them used as worm blankets in other bins. So with that being the case, the leaves are now kind of nicely distributed down along the bottom. And what I can do now is just set this down over the top. And now I'm gonna go ahead and water it in again. So let's go ahead and get some water. I'm gonna get the jug that we used last time and just drench this really nicely with water. All right, so here we are. We've got our water. I'm gonna go ahead and open that up. All right, I think that's going to be good. All right, and it's thoroughly saturated the bag. And what I'm really looking forward to is it really incorporating into the leaves. The leaves don't really seem to hold water very well, and one of the ways that you can kind of improve that is actually by shredding the leaves. But in this case, they've been outside already, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave them the way they are and just run this over the top. So the leaves are in place. I'm not seeing the skink, which is rather interesting. I'm curious to see whether it'll pop out later. Looks like we got a spider in here. So there are a lot of different critters going to be in here. It's going to be interesting to manage this bin, just, you know, putting our hands in and just exploring as we usually would, considering that we have so many other critters in here. I'm hoping that as the moisture really sets in, that some of those creatures are going to find their way out because they don't like how moist it is. So hopefully that's what happens. But thank you for joining us as we continue to work through this bin. This is a bin that hopefully is going to be giving us some leaf mold 2.0, because it's going to be not just traditional leaf mold, which is leaves that are broken down over a long period of time through fungal decomposition, but hopefully it's going to be worked on by the worms as well. So that's going to make it really nice and really help with the microbial activity. So thanks for watching, and continue to join us as we look through this bin and as we get it ready to add the worms in. Bum, bum, bum. And today we've got a bit of an emergency episode, and I'm going to be zooming in so that you can see a strange invader that is looking to attack one of our bins before it even gets started. This bin here is the leaf litter bin that we've been working on starting. It's supposed to be a fungal dominant bin. And so I had this jute sack, as you can see here. I got the jute sack, and I had leaves, dried fall leaves in the jute sack. I left it outside for several months, and over the course of that time, the leaves and the sack were just exposed to the elements. And so that was neat because it really allowed a lot of different types of organisms to set foot and get a foothold in there. But it's also unfortunate because it also allowed a lot of different organisms to set foot in here, and one of them that we are now dealing with has been crawling out of this bin and could potentially be problematic. So I'm going to try to move around this sack so that I can show you where my concern lies. And my concern is right there. If you can see it in the middle of your screen, there's an ant that is going absolutely crazy there. And it looks like I've had ants actually emerging from this bin looking to do all kinds of different tasks outside of the bin, probably trying to get a gauge for what else is going on in their vicinity. And as I zoom in a little bit, here you can even see a mite there on the bag right over in this region. Yeah, the little mite, it looks like. So yeah, there are just a lot of creatures that we're going to find in this bin, and it's really exciting. I don't know if this right here, this collection of, looks like off yellow stuff. I'm not sure if those are eggs that have been laid there by something. Let me see if I can, there we go, right there. So there's just a lot in this bin that is going to be new that we're going to be dealing with, which is part of the learning experience. And it's part of what makes the worm bin so exciting, is just taking care of the different critters that are involved in here. But yeah, the ants in here, I am kind of concerned about them because they could really prevent our worms from taking hold if they start to attack the worms or eat them or anything of that nature. So obviously, while this is an ecosystem, it's an ecosystem that we try to control to some degree, and I don't want them killing off the worms. So here's an ant there. So they seem to be in this corner here. I'm gonna pause this, get some gloves on, and we'll just dig down in and see if see if we can find out where they've set up shop. But this doesn't seem like just a few ants. It looks like we may have actually, maybe the colony is based in this bag of leaves, which would really stink. Ants don't prefer it super moist, so I could try to use moisture to drive them out. At least that's a hypothesis I have. But that's what we're up against, is ants. So let's dig through this and see what we've got. I'm gonna put on some gloves so that I at least have a bit of a barrier between me and what I might find. Oh, look, there's one right there. You can see him right there on the edge of the bin. They're pretty decent sized ants as well. They're not super small. All right, here we go. Got my glove on. Ready to dig in here and see what's going on. This also gives us a chance to just dig down and see how the moisture has distributed itself throughout this bin. Look at that. You can see that nice little matting there of the leaves. Those are the ones that are definitely getting moist and broken down. So that's really good. And I doubt you would see much ant activity in that area. From my understanding, ants don't really prefer it to be quite that moist. So I don't know. I think we might be able to do this even with the ants here. I'm not seeing, for the best part about this is that I'm not seeing ants just attack us as we or swarm as I open this, or as I dig through it rather. Usually if you disturb a colony, they're going to swarm on you because you're attacking their home. So that's a good sign, I guess. And it looks like we have some parts of it that are a little dry and other parts that are more moist. So I think the bin looks okay so far. So I'm actually glad that we took a look at the bin just to make sure that the ants were not going to be an issue. So I am really excited, of course, to get into this bin and to finally give them the worms to get started. We'll get some Pioneer red wigglers in here, but before we start, or before we close out this bin for today, I'm gonna go ahead and spray it down. Give it a nice thorough spray. All right, I think we can call that a night. So hopefully that'll help with continuing to keep the bin nice and moist, keep our leaves nice and moist, and keep this place ready for the worms when they're ready to come over from the Rachel bin. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.